Let's welcome Miss Gina Romero.
Now I have to be cool. Thank you. What an amazing event. Thank you so much for inviting me here. Thank you, Halogen. It's amazing. I was a little bit, I was very excited, in fact, to come and share my story with you. But also, do I do this? I thought I would share a little bit about failure, just to put a bit of a damper on your wonderful day, because failure is, in fact, a part of life, and it's something that I've been through a lot, and I think there's something that we can all learn a lot from. So if it's okay with you, I'll share a little bit of my story of the failures in my life, some of the big ones. That's how excited I was when Halogen invited me today. I was super excited. And then shortly after, I realized I was coming to speak to 600 girls, and I looked a little bit more like that. Because actually, I was afraid. I'm actually still afraid right now. I hope I look cool and unafraid, but I'm quite shaky. And it got me thinking, why am I afraid? I mean, I've done all these crazy things in my life, and I've survived it. So why am I afraid about coming here today to speak to all these lovely girls? And I realized that, like many of us, it's that fear of failure, isn't it? That's what we live with every day. And it doesn't matter who you are or what you do, we live with it. We're afraid every day. I mean, you wake up in the morning and you're afraid that you've missed your alarm clock, or you're going to be late, or it's going to rain and you won't get a taxi, or you might fail your exams, or something will go wrong. And as you get older, you worry about not having enough money and failing as a parent and losing your job. And you worry all the time about these things. But then I thought, you know what? I've already failed so much. I don't really need to be as afraid anymore. And I think when we realize what failure is, it becomes a little bit less scary. So one of the things I'd really like to invite you to do today is to just think a little bit about what failure means to you. Because we all have a different concept of success, and we all have a different concept of failure. So I'll share a little bit of my story. I've failed quite a few times. I celebrate my failures. I feel that it's part of what shaped me and helped me become the person that I am. One of the big things that happened to me when I was young, and I experienced failure in a big way, was that we lived in the UK and we went back to the Philippines to start a business. So I went back with my parents, and my parents were going to be entrepreneurs. My mom was actually a domestic helper, and my dad was a mechanic. But they decided to be entrepreneurs, so we went back to the Philippines, and for some strange reason, they decided to start a farm, even though we had no experience in farming at all. And it was great, actually. It was a great experience. We went from the UK into a rural town where my mom came from, and we started this amazing business, and I loved it. I loved the rural life. I loved learning about farming. I wanted to be a vet. But, sometimes things happen in life that you can't always account for, and one of those things happened to me, or to our family, and to everybody, actually, who was in the area at the time. You guys are all too young, you ladies, I should say. But in 1991, a volcano erupted. It was called Mount Pinatubo, and it was a big tragedy to the region because thousands of people lost everything that they had. And during that time, I think it was about 11 miles away from where our business was, we lost everything. The roof came down. It actually went dark in the middle of the night, in the middle of the day. The ash came, and it was raining rocks and mud, and I actually thought it was the end of the world. Now, I was there without my parents. My parents happened to have gone back to England, so I was 16 years old, and I watched this happening around me, and I also watched people lose absolutely everything. And so that was a big learning for me at age of 16, because prior to that, I had a very privileged life. And I lost all contact with my parents during that time, but I decided that I would actually do what I could in the community. So with everybody else, we were all just trying to rebuild everything. It took some time. I took quite a lot of video footage, actually, at the time of what had happened, and I haven't even looked at it since. I think I might have to dig that back out. I experienced failure, not just on my behalf, but seeing everybody else go through this kind of failure. And actually, there was no way out, but there was so much positivity in the community because people were literally digging their houses out with shovels. And the interesting thing is I was trying to film so that I could send back to the UK to show my mom the tragedy. And I don't know if you have any Filipino friends, but Filipino people are very hardy. So while I was filming them digging their houses out and trying to pick up, their furniture out of mud flow that had come down from the mountain, they were actually waving and saying "Hello England" at the camera, which kind of ruined the drama of the video that I was trying to take. But to me, that showed the spirit was still there to survive. So what happened after that? I really tried hard to save the business. I felt responsible at that age. I was actually going to college. I was studying to be a vet, but I dropped out of college, and I really, really wanted to actually save the business, and I really believed that we could save the business, but it was pretty tough. And after a year of trying, we actually lost the business. My parents were in the UK. They were pretty much homeless, and I was afraid. I was afraid to go back to the UK. I felt like a failure. I didn't know what to do with my life anymore, so I ran away. Never, ever run away. I cannot tell you how hard it was to try and survive. However, even though I was living, back one, please, in the slums, I ran out of everything. I had no money, I had no anything. I sold my watches, anything that I had, and I had nothing. But I had community around me. The people around me who also had nothing actually helped me. And they taught me how to do things that I didn't know how to do, like pump water and drink water and scrub my own clothes and cook rice on fire. So I survived. And actually, during that time, I actually became very hardy. But unfortunately, I couldn't carry on like that. And eventually, I got very sick. I got typhoid fever, and I almost died, at which point I then reached out to my parents, who, of course, were very, very happy to have me back. And, they had never at any point given up their support. But for some reason, I took this upon myself. So I decided to go back to the UK. And I remember sitting on the flight going back to the UK thinking, what am I going to do now? Because I basically have no plans for my life whatsoever. And I was watching the stewardess on the flight, and I thought, I'll be a stewardess. That was the best idea I could come up with at the time. So that's what I did. I went back to the UK, and I became a stewardess when I was 19, 20. And I turned my life around, and I was having a great life. But then, you never know what's going to happen in life. And so when I was 24 years old, I was in a happy relationship, and I was married. And when I was just 5 months after my marriage, 5 months married, 3 months pregnant with my first son, my husband had a serious car accident, and he was brain damaged, very seriously. So I was in a bit of a situation because I was 24 years old, and my husband was brain damaged, and I had a new baby on the way. And again, I thought my life was over. People often ask me, how did you get through this stuff? How did you get through it? The truth is, nobody ever, A, aspires to failure, or B, aspires to these kind of things happening. And I really hope that what I'm telling you comes across, because at the time I wasn't really worried about it. I mean, obviously it was terrible, but I just kept being strong. I just kept carrying on, because that's what you do. And people say to me, how did you get through it? I would never get through that. I never thought that I would ever get through it, but I did. Unfortunately, I couldn't save my marriage, and my marriage failed. So that was my second failure in my life. I'm very lucky. My husband, my previous husband survived. He's done really incredibly well. We have a wonderful relationship, and now he's like my younger brother. And I moved on, and I was very fortunate to meet a beautiful man who's filming me in the audience, who actually helped me pick up my life and move on. And now we have a family. My family are here, and they've never heard this story, I think. My children are in shock now. So that was, the second part of my life. And then I moved on, and now it was my business phase. So, the entrepreneurial spirit kicked in, and my husband and I wanted to start a business. And we had great experience. We had great ideas. We were setting up an IT company from our back garage. We were selling laptops on eBay, and that was great. And we'd never experienced failure in business. And we were actually very successful in what we were doing. But then what happened was that we became too successful almost. We started growing very fast, and we were completely, actually, in hindsight, incompetent. We didn't really know what we were doing. And so because of that, we didn't have the expertise that we needed to actually take our business to the next level. So we lost our business too. We actually lost a multi-million-pound deal, which could have actually made us very, very rich. But we walked away from it because it was very risky. And I still, to this day, maintain that it was a good decision to make, because sometimes you have to trust your gut instinct. And I knew that the deal was a good deal if we could have it our own way. But actually, I felt that if we did it wrong, then it would work out very badly from us. So we lost the business. We were actually down to the last $40 in our bank account and pretty much bankrupt when we managed to turn the business around. So you might ask, what do you do when you're in this situation where you're failing and failing and failing? Obviously, there were good things happening in my life as well. But you just think about the mistakes that you're making and you think, how can I improve on this? What can I learn from this? Because something that I held on to throughout everything that I was going through in my life was that even though I was failing at certain things, I never considered myself to be a failure. Those are two very different things. Failing and not succeeding, but being a failure are very different. And you need to consider, very importantly, what is success to you? Because success means different things to different people. And what your mom, your sister, your teacher, your friend, your idol, what they consider success is not necessarily what you would consider success. So think about that and think about what is important to you and what is failure to you. And I believe that the reason why I didn't fail is because I never gave up hope. You can never give up hope. And this is a quote, I think this is a quote, yeah. A quote by Thomas Edison. Everyone know who Thomas Edison is? Yeah, he failed apparently many, many times before he actually succeeded to invent the light bulb. He said, many of life's failures are people who did not realize how close they were to success when they gave up. And I truly believe that. So now my passion is helping entrepreneurs to succeed and to create communities where we can help each other to succeed and share our failures, our experiences, and our skills with each other, particularly women. But one thing that I'd like to leave with you today is that, please don't forget that failing is a part of life. It's a part of life. You cannot escape it. And it's okay to be afraid of it. And obviously, nobody aspires to it. But all of these people, they all failed. I don't know if you know I'm sure you know how successful these people are. But they've also failed in life. Oprah was told that she was unfit for TV. Einstein, I believe, couldn't speak properly until he was about 7 years old, and they thought he was mentally retarded. Disney was told that he had a lack of imagination and ideas. And Einstein, Winston Churchill, through every role that he attempted to gain in public office, he actually was rejected for until he was 62 and went on to become the prime minister. Psy from Gangnam Style, he was not an overnight success, although it looks like he was. He went through quite a lot of failure before he actually got to where he was. And of course, J.K. Rowling was depressed and penniless and a single mother before she actually achieved success. All of these people have one thing in common: they never gave up. So failure, I believe, is a great teacher. It teaches us humility because no matter how much we try, we will never be perfect. It teaches us empathy because you have to realize that nobody is perfect. And it makes us stronger because I think that, fortitude of spirit is one of the best values that you can ever hold on to in your life. And that's what will take you through your life and help you become a success. So please consider today what success means to you. And remember, importantly, that success means different things to different people. It's a big consideration at the age that you're at now, but just hold on to it and think about it and just try to remember, because there'll be a lot of influences in your life. Some will be good, some will be bad. There'll be a lot of things that happen in your life. Some will be good, some will be bad. But this is what will keep you going throughout. This is what you need to hold on to give you the strength that you need. Back one, please. So some of these ladies that you may recognize, what does success mean to you? The next one. Think about this. Which one of these is important to you? It could be all of them. Maybe you want to be a successful entrepreneur, have a great car. Maybe you want to be the top female doctor in Singapore. Hi, Anne. Think about all of these things. I'm not very good at this cue thing. Remember, success means different things to different people, and only you can decide. And I leave you with this thought: to be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you someone else is the greatest accomplishment. And I really believe that if you can just hold on to who you are and be the best person that you can be in your life, you will be a success, I promise you. And never, ever, 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 ever give up. Thank you.